Our next point is blocking, again, found in verse 13. People were bringing little children to Jesus to have him touch them, but the disciples rebuked them. What makes this verse so alarming is that it was the disciples who were preventing people from coming to Jesus. They were in training, following Jesus, to learn how to bring people to Jesus. And somehow, in their minds, they ended up keeping people from doing that. They were acting in complete opposition to their whole mission for which they were in training. We should rejoice in people coming to Jesus and seeking him, and we should work tirelessly to bring people to Jesus. Never should we be the reason that people are somehow prevented or obstructed from making it to him. The word rebuke here is a word that's very strong in the Greek, and essentially it conveys the idea to the person being rebuked that they should feel ashamed for what they're doing, and they should stop and correct themselves. And the disciples were trying to make the adults and the kids feel ashamed for thinking that they could come to Jesus. I don't know where in their minds they got it in their head that they were somehow like an elite security unit protecting their celebrity Jesus from, the undesirables. But they had gotten off track here. Whenever our ministry actually begins to become selective about who is in and who is out, we've gotten way off track with the ministry. And the lesson would be that Jesus is for everyone. God is patient. He doesn't desire anyone to perish, but he desires all to come to repentance. The heart of God is for all people. For God so loved the whole world that he gave his one and only Son. And the whole idea in the ministry and the life of Jesus and his teachings was that anyone who comes to me, anyone, all are invited, and anyone who comes will never be turned away. Never. Yet the disciples were here representing Jesus, and they were turning people away. It was a very dangerous moment because they were making an impression on those children and those adults that could have lasted for a lifetime had Jesus not corrected the situation in that very moment. I would say that a lot of people throughout history, the church's history, and a lot of people growing up in Christian environments have perhaps had a similar experience. Maybe you grew up in a Christian home going to church and youth group, and you went to Christian schools even maybe, and whether that's evangelical or whatever in the world of Christendom, whatever self-identifies as Christianity, and yet you were burned really bad. Maybe you were hurt really bad. Or maybe you just lived in an environment of hypocrisy where people said they were Christians, but they acted the complete opposite of what Christianity really is all about. And maybe you went to a church and the church's leadership was really bad and hurt you. Maybe the church was just a hypocritical environment or legalistic and just never a place that was safe and nurturing and encouraging to people to come to Christ. And if that's the case, you've been hurt, you've been burned, certainly compassion is due for you here. And I would say, that's really a hard thing to come back from. The church and Christians should never be the reason that someone runs away from Jesus, but always should be reasons why people should run to him. Can I just say this, that don't let the people of God cause you to miss the God of those people. There are a lot of great Christians out there. A lot of Christians today are Christians because they had such wonderful Christian parents who were wonderful models and examples, wonderful churches and youth pastors and youth groups. And, there are lots of those out there. And if you were unfortunate enough not to have that, then I want you to understand something, that the people of God, even no matter how good they are very poor representations of a perfect God. And so God is always more wonderful than the people who identify with him. So what I'm saying is, don't let the people of God, when they're found to be at fault, turn you off and turn you away from God. Because the sad reality is we don't always represent our God the way we should. And that's seen right here in this passage. The Bible kind of tells us that's going to happen and to be expected. Whenever you have imperfect human beings worshiping a perfect God, they're not always, because of their imperfections, going to represent a perfect God very well. And so the disciples here, notice, are rebuked by Jesus when he finds them rebuking these people. And you know what that means? It means that God wanted those people to come to him, and it means that when the disciples were going to deny them, he was going to receive them. When they shut the door, he opened it. And I want you to see that. I want you to see past those people who may have hurt you in the past. And I want you to see past them to the God that they worship. Go past them and go to Jesus.